myself.
Doomsong! We're live.
Hello. Oh,
Hello, everyone.
Can you?
I can try.
Put a post-it over my face.
I guess.
Bam. This only works if I don't know I'm live.
Because we do need to see Chris's thing. Oh no.
Hello.
It's gone poorly.
Yeah.
Welcome to our casual Twitch stream.
It's so casual.
It's so casual. None of this has been
It's
forced.
aggressively casual.
Yeah. Jack wears that t-shirt in front of that backdrop every day.
Every day. Yeah.
It's a coincidence you're watching him.
We are Caesar Inc. and we are working on a horror role-playing game called Doomsong, and the campaign Lord Have Mercy Upon Us, which is a lovely game about being nice to each other and
Working together.
Working together. No, it's about being grave diggers and working in the dirt, putting the unquiet dead back to rest, whether they want to or not. There's spades. there's violence.
We've got spades in spades.
We've got spades in spades. Shovel loads of spades. And yeah, we are today going to be doing a bit of design for an adventure that will sort of morph into a sampler adventure in the main book. Sort of a little introduction thing.
So we're trying to get a lot of introductory elements into it. You are with gravediggers. This world is highly religious, and some of the monsters that you can encounter.
Yeah. We did run last week. If you were here with us for that, we do apologise for the audio levels last week. Hopefully this week it's better, but feel free to let us know in chat whether it is or not. And if you like what you see at any point, feel free to go to kickstarter.com/projects/CaesarInc/Doomsong, which I'm sure someone will pop into the chat very shortly. I can see Morgan doing it right now, so fantastic.
Insider knowledge.
Yeah, and I need to lean a little bit that way to be in shot, but honestly,
This is closer than any of us are at any point in the workday.
I'm quite a symmetrical person. I'm not overly symmetrical, but if you can see half my face, you can pretty much intuit the rest. Yeah.
Ooh, so what do I have here?
I'm quite an unsymmetrical person,
You think?
which is why I hate seeing my face flipped,
2 arms, 2 legs.
as other people see it.
You've actually, all your arms and legs are on the same side, aren't they? I've noticed that.
I'll be honest, it's surprising I haven't. So we did.
Just looking at these notes that Jack made last week, I can see that for the sample adventure, the Witchfinders discovered that a person called Bleeder was a witch.
Name was not decided last session.
Bleeder.
Honestly, if someone's going around calling themselves Bleeder,
Yeah.
Well, I'm imagining.
Bleeder.
I'm imagining they weren't like how Batman's called Batman, right?
no, he's called Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, his
Spoiler
name is
alert.
Bruce Wayne, Jack.
But
Spoilers. That's the twist at the end of
But
Batman.
the vigilante is called Batman.
Right.
Was what I was imagining.
Who by?
The criminals.
Right.
The Joker.
He names himself, though.
The Batman.
Yeah, but he names himself.
Yeah.
So you're imagining that this guy goes around in the night calling the Bleeder.
Yeah. So I put together a few of our ideas from last session and sort of put them in an order, which we can definitely change. So basically, what I'm imagining, a little bit of world building to throw in there as well. The crossroads that the adventure takes place has until recently been beset by an influx of brigands and highwaymen.
Brigands and highwaymen.
Basically because the Crusade passed through and co-opted the local militia. Basically brought them, all the able-bodied men and women into the Crusades to go do horrible things to horrible gods. And so that sort of left the area bereft of any sort of law-keeping service. So recently, though, luckily, someone has stepped into the role of protection, a mysterious figure who may or may not be known as Bleeder, and basically killing the the brigands and the highwaymen, and
I'm
going
a
into camps
mysterious figure known only as the Bleeder.
I don't like Bleeder.
No,
I want that
okay.
clear.
I think Bleeder is a great name for an Igor type character who donates a lot of blood to his master.
That's Bleedy.
He's a hero to some.
Right? Yeah.
Bleeder,
where are you?
Bleedy.
Sorry, master. Please take my blood.
I was feeling very
Like
faint.
that episode of Malcolm in the Middle where Reese tries to help with a science project and they need blood. So they just tap him. They just tap him continually for
That
blood.
poor boy. That poor Reese. He never did no wrong to nobody.
He did a lot of wrong to a lot of people. So the Witchfinders have found, before the adventure begins, they found this vigilante. They've tried him as a witch of frenzy and tried him to death. So
I did see that you'd written in there. They tried him to death.
yeah. So he didn't go quietly. Big bloody fight. He killed loads of Witchfinders and the official gravedigger that they had, appointed to dig the grave after he was burned. So because of that, the witch burners basically boarded up the whole courthouse and just went, oh, we don't have a gravedigger, so we may as well wait for the gravediggers to send a new one, and then it's their problem, not ours. And you are those gravediggers. So, Chris.
Hi.
On this stream, I think the chat box is
we got
overlaid onto the.
Yeah.
Is that intentional?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Okay. The Witchfinders have basically said, not our problem. Get the gravediggers in here, and so it's been over 7 days, and the those that have died have risen as live, and I think that's sort of where we enter. And you sort of investigate. We were going to have as well a priest in the sanctum or hiding somewhere, and an Opiri who's not a fan, and sort of have the priest be like, they knew that the vigilante was around and doing the thing, so that we can get a bit of not everyone hates heretics. That it's useful. That they have magic powers and it's useful. So, yeah, that's sort of where we'd got to. All of that can change.
My question would be, can we have, the burnt pyre remains right outside the church?
Courthouse.
Courthouse. Because right now, there's, that would set the scene.
Yeah? Okay, so, did they burn him?
We didn't burn him.
And he got out of the fire. Still on fire, went into the courthouse and slaughtered everyone.
Yeah.
So that adds a layer of magic.
Yeah, because what's Frenzy's power? Isn't it you can...
One of them is Blood Frenzy, which is basically, during a combat, you can not die. If you would die, you can not die until basically the end of the combat, unless you literally have your head chopped off or something.
So he was
similar.
in combat with a pyre.
Yeah.
And tanked all the damage.
Yeah. They're like, quick, extinguish the pyre. We have to end his fight with the pyre as quickly as possible.
We need to retreat. I think a pyre out front is quite a good starting point.
So the witch was male and the priest is going to be female.
I think so. Yeah, I think because that's another sort of little world building thing of hey, this is a world where...
I like the idea of him escaping the pyre and taking onlookers with him, because people gather around to watch people hang.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing that happened in the medieval ages.
I mean, it was before YouTube.
Pre-YouTube, what you going to watch? The hanging.
The hanging. It's, quite an interesting fact on... So, when hanging was abolished, it was at its most popular.
So that was an unpopular decision.
Basically, yeah, it was a hugely unpopular decision with the public. They loved to see a hanging. And it was the intelligentsia, basically, was the ones against it. Just sort of interesting, weirdness. Humans suck. So
You heard it here first, everyone. Humans suck.
Okay, so I've written down: the Witchfinders burnt a witch of frenzy. He escaped to the pyre, took lots of sightseers with him, including the local gravedigger. You are gravediggers. See the burnt pyre outside the courthouse when you arrive. The scene is set. You've arrived. What happens? What's here? What's happening?
Is there a survivor?
Local tragedy.
He has barely 30 seconds left to live.
Well, so
It's a very concise story to tell.
in lore, it takes 7 days, doesn't it, for an undead to rise?
Yeah.
Normally, unless
Yes.
something weird's happening. So that means unless we want something weird to be happening, this all happened a week ago. Which I quite
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
That leaves us in a sort of abandoned, it means that the priest is running out of food and
Wait, none of this is written on the list. I'm asking you to summarize for this list. Where's the priest?
I think in the roof, or in the. I was gonna say.
So you've arrived
is there
and you
like
have
court
bodies
records?
to bury.
Is that good? I was thinking, confiscated
Court
treasury
records are
is a good place. That would be quite a good place
good.
for the priest.
Confiscated treasure. What do you mean by treasury?
So, if you're a witch, I think all of your belongings go to the state. So, I
I'm going
imagine
to write down
that-
the word paraphernalia. Which paraphernalia?
Emphasis on the para.
Paranormal phernalia.
Yeah, so basically any money and goods you have would be taken to the treasury, or the evidence room, I guess.
Yeah, I
but
think
that's a very modern
for the
way
sake of this, it should have been taken to the courthouse.
Yeah. So sorry, I was going to say a room in here would be the confiscation treasury or
Evidence
something.
room.
Yeah. Evidence room, but we obviously kind of want to avoid evidence rooms. It's very CSI. But that gives us a loot room as well. And we could have a profane relic in there maybe.
Ooh.
That's basically a magic item for anyone who's wondering.
Also, court records.
Yeah.
For those
So-
people who can read,
Yeah, court records.
detailing
is
the
another
trial.
good room.
It's just they brought in the accused, they ducked him in the pond, and burnt him.
They brought in the guilty.
Oh yay!
Determined he was guilty.
We've got a graveyard, obviously. Graveyard of the guilty. And this, I imagine Gravedigger's hut.
Is
out
it
back.
a bit more bleak if it's the innocent that are buried here? Classic witch trials. It's if you survive, you're burned. But you don't bury the ashes, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, hello, Gersen.
What are the rules of our own sort of? What happens to a witch's body once it's burned?
Jack,
Oh,
your
it's-
audio is a tad low. I'm going to need you to yell.
Hello.
That is because Jack is all the way over there.
Yeah, it's actually the same mic. We're in the same room.
We can talk louder.
Yeah, I can throw things at Chris.
His arms are too weak.
Yeah, so
I think once the familiar has disappeared, which is a sign that the witch's soul is dead, then it's just a body and it's left to be buried.
what happens to a body that's been? I guess the soul comes back and tries to inhabit the body, doesn't it? But if the body's not around, it can try and inhabit something else.
The soul tries to come back and either does one of three things: hang around and be creepy, inhabit its own body if it's particularly strong, or inhabit anything else if it's not particularly strong, or it's forced to do so.
So
I think it's a witch of frenzy, so it's just read that it's quite strong and it's going to try to inhabit its own body, so we don't really have to...
witch souls are probably pretty...
Not all of them.
strong.
Langer.
I reckon they've got a bit of familiar soul in there as well that gives them a bit...
It's a good question. Do
gives them
witches
2 souls.
even have souls if the familiar consumed
That's a
it?
good question. Can a witch come back as a ghost?
I think so. I think it's in the familiar, right?
I see.
Yes. So when the familiar dies, it takes the soul with it.
It's, I think
That's
zombie witches is
that's
rad.
the pact, right? You get power in life, but as soon as you're dead, that's it.
Yeah. Although we do want them to be able to be live, do we?
Be honest, the
just
witch
for
that
cool stuff.
is that an interesting witch trial? Do we? Because I love a witch trial that ends with a certainty of being squashed. Do I just execute the witch, wait 7 days, and see if they don't come back, they weren't a witch. If they do come back, if they do come back, they weren't a witch, and then they get reburied.
Do you think that people in the medieval era also got confused about whether they were a witch or not?
Yeah, well,
they drowned. They must have been a witch.
Yeah.
Wait, no, is that the way? Oh, I had it written on my hand, but I can't read.
Yeah. I mean, if you drown, you're either not a witch or you're a shit witch.
Yeah. Okay.
I do think witches are cool. I think the focus is on undead, and we can have lots of undead in this.
Yeah.
We don't need to know how it works necessarily at this point.
Okay. Okay.
I like-
so
Because we have an Operi as well in the
Yeah.
tower.
I like witches don't come back. I think that's interesting. And
yeah.
It confirms the soul thing. I think you're right. The undead witch thing is like, do you have them be a more powerful? But I don't know. I think it's an interesting piece of lore that like.
Everyone has the chance to come back as an undead, except witches.
Yeah.
They
If you've sold your
pledged
soul,
that
or
away.
like, if like a soul-eating demon has eaten your soul, or like something.
Yeah,
Like,
or it's been like bound to a magic item or a sort of.
Consumed
If you've
by
done
that
something with
sword.
the soul, obviously it's not going to become a
Come
thing.
back.
Yeah. Okay.
But there
so
are
that
lots
means
of undead.
the Witcher frenzy is just dead somewhere in this.
And you have to
thing.
bury it.
And you have to bury that.
But because the local gravedigger was killed in the frenzy of the Frenzy Witch, there are lots of other, like some other undead that have come back.
Yeah, I think like the jury.
Yeah.
Um,
An undead jury.
Oh no, the undead jury are here.
but,
Luckily, they can't agree on shit.
what's a necromancer that goes into undeath? Lich. I imagine that a powerful witch, especially one of Langer, could like death. Although obviously there's lore stuff there. Could like bind their soul, kill themselves, and like have their soul bound to something other that like you could do that.
We'll have to be careful with that.
but
I don't
that's-
really want to touch on like
Suicide,
Suicide,
sure.
yeah.
But the sort of transition into undeath, I imagine we could mess around with that lore. But
Yeah, as soon as if we establish witches don't come back as undead, we can immediately find a
Immediately break
reason
it,
to
yeah.
like a cool way that this one did. That's not really at issue. I just think because this is the introduction to how you work as a grave digging team. Like, we don't need to do that. We've got some bodies to bury. And a mystery to uncover in terms of like, why is the priest locked herself in the attic?
Yeah, I think that's rad. I think just sort of you almost just want some setting, like some creepy life that can be messed with, or like try and like take them, like, get the drop, take them sort of as a classic like. Because you sort of want a very simple combat with like 4 dudes, right? Just a simple like, because it's people's first adventure. This is kind of how combat works, and so a simple combat with 4 dudes and a combat where you're probably going to lose someone if you just go and fight the Imperials. If this is D&D, like I think those are 2 good.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable lesson. It's like, don't go straight to Nosferatu's bedroom.
Yeah, he's changing.
That's a misstep.
Yeah.
So, you've run some undead encounters during the demo playthroughs you've run. How many undead is good for?
So it depends on how we want to run them. So there's the like party guests, and the way they work is like you can have tons of them, but they've all basically got 1 hit point each. So any hit kills one. which was quite a good way of running a horde. Especially,
the horde was fun. Do we want a horde, or do we want something a bit smaller?
I think something a bit smaller. I think there's just 4 dudes somewhere, 1 or 2 dudes in other places. Because the system sings best when it is about sort of equal numbers, maybe a few more.
Sort of as well. As people's first sort of introductory adventure, they're going to be going into this equipped with shovels.
Yeah.
This is going to be the
Shovels.
Shaun of the Dead bar fight, right? They've got 1 undead and there's 4 of them just just wailing on it.
Yeah.
And then an Operi arrives.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Shit.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to think around the Operi problem.
Yeah, or appease it, or
That is one thing that we encountered yesterday, because I ran my first combat, a Jotun Mutter combat. So Jotun Mutters are giant women from the Weald, and it was awkward for me as my first combat, trying to run the weird one where the players have to think around how do we defeat something that's as tall as a church. I think the Operi will also be a bit of that.
Yeah, I think that's fun. He's a nasty boy. I'm imagining him being able to, because he can fly as well. So he's gonna, if you aren't careful and just sort of go up to him and be like, "Forsooth, foul beast," he's probably gonna grab one of you, suck your bone marrow dry, and then fuck off.
I guess if that's if we have the priest character, the Operi are created by Frenzy, who is a god that hates the church.
Is the Operi a natural Operi, or is the priest the Operi?
Oh, you mean has he been bitten? Is he on the turn?
Is she on the turn?
She on the turn. Is she covering up her... Sorry, I keep forgetting that our universe has a much more inclusive clergy than the real one.
They're evil in different ways.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're evil in the same ways as well.
Is the bite of the Operi thing? Is she covering her neck, or is she wearing a wimple, which she should only be wearing on a Sunday?
But she's so pious.
She's suddenly decided to wear her wimple all day round.
Was that a follow? Was it?
I've no idea.
Is that just a noise that your computer makes every now and again?
Gherkin has found a way to make my computer make a noise.
Excellent. Thank you, Gherkin.
Do we know if it's pronounced Gherkin?
I think I'm going to assume it's
all about confidence.
I'm sticking with Gherkin.
It might be Jersin.
Yeah. Okay, I think the wimple thing is interesting, right? If your character has a religious background, maybe you get given the clue that the attire she's wearing is sort of out of season.
Okay, so was she in league then with the Frenzy Witch? Or has she been attacked by the Operi and it's against?
It would help explain. So at the start of this session, we were talking about there being a priest in the attic for some reason. If the priest has disappeared and barred herself in the attic of the courtroom or wherever for some reason that you don't know since the trial, a possible explanation could be, oh, she's turning, and her ally has been burnt at the stake last week. So
yeah.
Why is the priest hiding away?
Yeah.
We don't know where she is, and it turns out she's in the attic, turning. It would also be a bit of a power down, because I think the humans that turn into Operi are slightly less powerful, or a lot less powerful, than natural-born Operi.
Okay.
So it depends how cinematic we want to go.
Yeah. So the Operi in the attic could be the priest, which does mean we've eliminated one character, which is always good.
And then,
does
as a
mean
finale, a natural-born Operi turns up.
I think you keep it to just the just the two types of enemies in a like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I think it's really good for establishing, like, these are the kinds of dangers that villages you go into have to deal with. The undead rising, people turning into Opiri, witch burnings,
Yeah.
like the local gravedigger getting killed by witches, that kind of... It's supposed to be low fantasy. And as soon as you dig down into that, like, I think the possibilities open with where you can take these things.
Yeah. So you show up, you've been told there are undead here, so the mission that you're given is clear out the jury, or whatever, right? The jury have all been...
Oh, yeah, okay. I forgot that the jury were dead.
The jury were all slaughtered by the witch. The jury are coming back. We've locked them in the courthouse. Go in and resolve that
Sort
problem.
that out.
The extra trouble on top of that you're going to sort of... that there are going to be clues to is that
life.
the priest was bitten by an Opiri and is turning in the attic. Does that mean that there is a dead, fully grown Opiri somewhere that bit them, or the Opiri that bit them and flew away?
That could be a sword of Damocles hanging over the adventure.
Yeah. Who bit the priest?
Who bit the priest?
Opiri-
Find out during your next adventure.
Next time.
Opiri transformation is a one-way street, isn't it? You turn into a monster. You're not like a Dracula where you can...
Although that
pass
has
as a
instantly
human.
opened up possibilities of, like, exorcisms. Like, the church is adamant that you can stop Opiri transformations. We
But you
just
can't.
haven't succeeded yet.
We've tried everything. We tried squeezing. We
No,
tried
we have-
squeezing again.
We have so many possibilities we have left to try. Keep telling us about the Opiri.
They just found the most sadistic priests. So got them to write a list of... Yeah.
Ways.
A list of ways. Just a list of awful things.
And that's what the list is called in universe. The list of ways.
The list of ways.
Ask no more questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Okay, so when you turn up as gravediggers, there are 12 angry Lithe locked in the courthouse. And you deal with Lithe, you need to bury them.
Yeah.
That's job one.
Yep.
And along the way, you discover potentially, like, the priest disappeared. You can find out she's in the attic. You've got confiscated witch paraphernalia in the courthouse, a profane relic, court records. You can find out, like, about the witch that was burnt. It's a witch of frenzy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Yeah.
lot to go on, actually.
And I honestly, I really like the idea of there being 12 live, which makes, like, it's a fucking scavenger hunt.
Right.
They
you have a
around.
number.
Yeah, there'll be like 6 in one of the rooms.
Yeah.
Like,
And
around
I think
the
we can
table.
keep it to...
And there's
if
one
you-
or two,
yeah.
like...
If you want it to be, 4 dangerous combat involved ones, then that's 4 dangerous combat involved ones. One of them could just be possessing a teapot. One of them could be, like, in half. There doesn't have to be
Yeah.
sort of a mass of 12 guys. What was the reason we were giving for not burning the courthouse down? It's your job.
The
not
fact that
to.
there's a priest there was
Right.
the original thing.
Because I guess, I would... As a D&D party, my first instinct would be, there's undead trapped in the building. Well, we'll just set fire to the building.
Yeah, I guess you've got two things there. First of all, you're not allowed.
Yeah. You work for the guild, so...
Yeah.
That's kind of a conversation that will have to happen between GM and players as well, like, because some people just want to run Murder Hobo Simulation. And
Yeah.
that's fine for them if they're having fun.
And honestly, that's like you can, but that's not your job, and you'll be fired. Like that's a perfectly acceptable thing.
What does SOP mean, Jerry?
Standard operating procedure.
Yeah, nail the doors and windows shut and burn
Yeah,
the
it's
place
a-
down.
It's a classic problem of like trying to create this sort of scenario for a normal party because it's that optimizing your way out of the fun. Like, actually, who would go into the creepy cave and explore it? No.
We do have the lore in place at the minute that in order to get rid of Lithe, you need to bury the original body and or the item they're occupying. You need to bury them,
Yeah.
and that's how you get rid of them. So actually, like, burning it down wouldn't do anything. The lithe would, like, maybe disperse for a bit, but then they'd be back possessing something different.
Okay.
And you'll have burnt their courthouse down.
Oh, okay. Is that does that law click in place for witches? Don't need to be buried because they don't come back as live. That's why witches are burned.
Yeah.
Because it's painful.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Witches can be burned because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to worry about them coming back. That you know of.
Okay.
Yeah, I think having the priest. So I'm agreeing with Jerkin. Must be Jerkin. It's now that you've pointed out that it's presumably a soft G. Having the priest hide in the building so that you have to rescue them is great because it means you don't burn the building down, but it also means that when you eventually find them and they're partially turned into a Piri, you've then got to kill them, and it's like.
Do we twist sideways a little bit? Would it make sense if the judge lived over the courthouse, and that's a reason why they've locked themselves above the courthouse? Or do we keep priest?
I think priest.
Is the priest the judge?
Priest could have been the judge.
That's nice and.
But although the sort of twist we wanted, or like world building thing, was that of having like we wanted the priest to have sentiment towards the Witcher Frenzy, to be like having had worked in cahoots, so that we can sort of show it's a morally grey world. Not every priest of the silent
you meet will be good.
The Divine Corpse is going to be like a hard line against heresy, like because it's an easy trap to fall into when you're sort of creating this world or playing in it, of being like the rules are very simple. Everyone hates heresy. Everyone's this. Everyone's that, and playing around in the grey part, I think, is quite fun.
It opens it up for the GM as well. They don't have to think, oh, this character has to be good because they're a priest, or
so
or bad because they're a priest.
What's the furthest along an Opiri transformation could be where they could still speak?
Interesting. So the conception we have of an Opiri is basically we used the old Slavic word for vampire. So it's a vampire transformation, and we're playing with the idea that they eat marrow instead of blood. So they have a big hummingbird tongue. That was creepy, but I don't think Chris liked the hummingbird tongue idea as much. Are we keeping that? Because I am dovetailing this. If we keep the hummingbird tongue, that might be the last point at which they can speak.
Okay.
If we don't have a hummingbird tongue, it's up for grabs.
So I think what I was against was losing the cat face on the bat body. The cat-bat hybrid has a kind of sphinx-like Egyptian undead feel.
Apparently we're really quiet.
So I secretly turned the volume up. So
hopefully that's better.
Yeah, I mean Sundance has got to hear us all the way in Germany. So
yeah, we got the thanks a lot. I think we're
fantastic.
No one touch that microphone again. We've said it.
Ever again. So
Egyptian cat body.
Yeah.
Hairless cat.
Yeah, so the Opiri it's a sort of vampire werewolf analog for this universe, where we've combined all of the best bits of those two things together. It's kind of a sphinx cat with bat wings, and they sort of witches and cults to the Opiri, to the god Frenzy, who created the Opiri, kind of become like thralls. They're kind of what's the guy's name? We got a movie, Renfield. Right? They kind of go a bit Renfield, a bit Igor, and they serve the Opiri.
But way more Renfield than the movie, the most recent movie depicted.
So, and they eat bone marrow rather than blood, which is sort of a gross reason for them to break all the bones open. Um,
Yeah. So to bring that back, you were against the cat face changing, but not super
Not
against
necessarily.
yeah, I don't mind the tongue. I think the idea of the long, sinister tongue and the breaking open bones and getting into the bones with the gross tongue, I think that's all nightmare fuel.
But you just don't want an aesthetic
Yeah.
change from the face. No, we
Yeah,
can work with that.
because I think the Egyptian cat face thing pulls it from being a classically... It has this feeling of like... There's a lot of influences in the traitor gods from historical gods that the Christian church we're parodying with the Church of the Divine Corpse would consider pagan. And so I think having that visual aspect sort of ties...
pagan.
Yeah, it ties Frenzy to...
sort of Bastet and the Egyptian Sphinx.
So I think the last point at which this priest in our adventure could talk is when she starts to get the humming in the tongue.
Go on. Someone else has found a way to make
More noise.
make noise.
Scares us every time.
What is that?
No, it's an ad.
Why can I hear that?
I don't know. What have you done?
You've just shot to number 1 on the world's most wanted list.
No idea.
Shot to
I've shot to number 1 on the world's
most wanted list.
No idea.
Shot to
I've shot to number 1 on the world's
most
wanted.
wanted.
I'm going to mute a second.
Shot to
I've shot to number 1 on the world's wanted. I'm going to...
Excellent.
Okay,
All
we're
right.
back.
For some reason, Twitch started going.
Yeah, I had Twitch open in another window, so it just started playing.
It had taken that long to load or something.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask is because what we don't have in this adventure is anyone to converse with.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit at the beginning where you'll speak to a witchfinder, but there's no villain or tortured soul to basically have a chat with.
Actually, as well, if the priest is in the roof, is there like the priest could be calling through the floorboards, like, "I'm up here. Oh, there's too many zombies. Don't open the door." Like,
So what's their goal? They know they've turned too much, right?
Yeah. I think it's to eat the gravediggers, right?
To break their bones.
Specifically the marrow of the gravediggers. The rest of it they'll leave on the side of their plate.
Push it around a bit. Yeah, so what's the timeline here? Why are they turning into an Opiri?
Well, she worships Frenzy. That's like.
So she's also a Frenzy worshipper.
Or I guess she got bitten.
Yeah. Okay, so she worked with the witch.
Was she?
You don't think she was bitten at the trial?
By what?
Oh, good point. Yeah, I was going to say by the witch. I've forgotten how this works. It's like Renfield bites you.
Don't dead over inside.
So the witch was a witch of Frenzy. One of the things that these witches do is try to feed. Frenzy's trying to bring down the ecclesiarchy. Frenzy hates the ecclesiarchy because they killed her divine sister. So, one of the things that witches to Frenzy do is try to bring down the ecclesiarchy. If the witch successfully fed the priest to an Opiri, but the priest got away, she would begin transforming into an Opiri.
Yeah.
So the priest actually raised the alarm on the witch.
Yeah, which I guess takes away the... I quite liked the idea that there's a brigand problem and the Witch of Frenzy was solving that problem. Curing the symptom, not the
problem.
the disease, but still, they were like providing a service, and the witch.
I'm worried about how background that is because you won't have access to any of that information.
That's kind of how the witch the priest actually being the Opiri and like kind of breaks all of that into
Yeah.
they're all just bad and witches are bad, and therefore like it becomes much more like in line
Yeah.
with what players are expecting, and reinforces what we might be trying to break.
Yeah. So I've just opened the Operi document, just to give everyone a visual of what
Beautiful
we're talking
boy.
about here. This is a full Operi.
They're massive. The skulls are for scale.
With skulls for scale. Yeah, so for my sake, do you want to talk me through the types of Operi? But also to answer, firstly, thank you Sundancer for downloading the core rules. I know from experience that's
That's
like a
lot
tree's worth of paper.
Yeah.
You know, we've given away a lot of book there. So yeah, thanks, and let us know what you think of the rules. If you get a chance to play it, that would be awesome. The more people that we can get to sort of
I love that they specified they used the company printer.
yeah, don't print
Yeah.
that shit on your own
No.
computer. Two things should always be done on company time.
So moving on.
Let's see if I can remember all of the types of Operi based upon memory. So you guys don't have to know this, but it is cool
Yeah.
lore built into the world. You've got 3 types of natural Operi based on their age. You've got Operi Tisif, which are baby Operi, I think, little babbies. You got a small gribbly type who can just run after you. Operi Megara, which are the mums, and they're very hulked up and big, and like they're defending the nest. And then you've got Operi something else, and that's like a basic, like the basic alien you'd see in the films.
Yeah.
And then you've got Operi Falsare, which are fake Operi, and they're the humans turned
And that's a
Operi.
human's bit.
Yeah, and
So-
they're much more human shaped than this, but they do get the wings, they get the cat ears, and they get the tongue, and then they go all like pale and like nocturnal.
Fact.
So here's what I'm thinking.
hmm
The Operi, because we do actually have this in the book as one of the suggested
My
familiars,
T-shirt has false Operi on it.
is the familiar of the witch.
Say again.
The Operi is the familiar of the witch.
Okay, yeah,
And it's a small one.
yeah,
And it's
It's-
dead, presumably.
because the witch is dead.
Does it work the other way around?
I-
Does the familiar die if the witch dies?
I think
or is
so.
it just the
I think-
vice versa?
I think you get this like demonic pal who consumes your soul, and the way that they gain access to the mortal realm is like through this pact, and the way
Okay.
you gain access to powers is through this pact, and then once the pact is broken and either of you die, like you both die.
So, the familiar bit the priest.
Mm-hmm.
The priest is turning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that gives you a circle.
Okay.
That makes everything sort of fit in place.
Priest bitten by familiar.
Yeah, and I think the priest is more like trying to like, woe is me, I don't want to do what I do, like what I know I'm going to do, but I don't have the strength to
Yeah.
stop myself. And if you go meet the priest, they'll be like, stay away, no, I don't want to, and
Yeah.
then will like Bilbo at you.
I'd like to stay here indefinitely, please.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a really rad like
Circle, and it
circle.
gets a lot of mechanics down.
Gets a lot of mechanics, gets you a lot of like lore and stuff, and allows gives you someone to talk to, tortured soul.
Yeah.
We can put a few more people in as well, like
As in other living people.
yeah, if we want. We're not restricted
Yeah,
to
I think some bystanders. I think a character, maybe a mayor.
like
or,
a courthouse
Yeah.
caretaker who would be sweeping, but
I mean, they've been here for 7 days. Whoever we put in here.
well, that's
Um,
almost better because you can put in a table that's like a D6 table. Roll to see who's walking by.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's what I was thinking was I think
Oh,
we
right,
would
you
have
mean outside?
gathered. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we can have a crowd. Like
They have a crowd and then have a mayor who's basically the node you'd speak to in the crowd, right? Like
My vote is for alderman or burgermeister.
Oh,
Alderman's good.
alderman. Yeah.
I like
Gary
no
Alderman?
Burgermeister is like a historical term, but I can only think of like Burger King.
Yeah.
The Burger King.
He's one of the burger characters, right?
He's Lord of the Burgermeisters, the Burger King.
The Burger King. Did you ever see the Burger King head? Like that big fake plastic head that used to be part of the...
Did you ever see the video game called Sneak King?
Sneaking.
Sneak King.
If this is a pun, I don't get it. I'm
as
refusing
in
to
like
get
sneaking. Sneaking around, and he's a king. It's very bad.
it. It sounds it.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay, so we've got a crowd. If there are like safely contained lithe
Yeah.
barricaded in the courthouse, people would gather to like, oh, there's lithe in there.
Mm. The
So
old
there's a gathered
courthouse.
crowd, and maybe the and
So
the
it's a
mayor.
gathered crowd. There's a makeshift cage with all of the criminals that need trying, like they've built up over the last
like
week.
a child catcher cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But everyone's like, oh, I think they've just been letting people off. I think it's been purged since they stopped the courthouse. No, I don't think this is the kind of place where you get... I think, like... First question I was going to ask. I like the priest being the judge.
Yeah.
For the main reason being, I think it just narrows down the key players.
Yeah.
It
also-
reinforces the
it's-
ecclesiarchy
Consolidates
thing.
power.
Yeah.
Like priest, judge. If they could be jury as well, they would be.
And I think, like, despite the fact that there's a mayor, the mayor is one rung down from the priest.
Mm.
Like, because we have the ecclesiarchy.
It's a county courthouse where anyone needing tried is brought to, as smaller villages and hamlets wouldn't have the ability. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I
what we're
imagine
going for.
there'll have been like a printed, pamphlet gone out, wood printed pamphlet that basically out to all the little villages, which is just like, your local courthouse is out of session. If you have any guilty, just hang them yourselves.
Yeah.
Like, no trials. Just until we've sorted this out.
Cannot stress enough how much not to
Yeah.
bring them here.
Trial suspended, skip to sentencing.
Oh, that's so dark.
Not necessary this week. Yeah, okay. So the timeline is...
You have arrived as gravediggers.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Are you talking
That's-
timeline from like over the whole thing or from when you arrived?
So over the whole thing.
Okay.
And most of this I don't think is super necessary for the players. So the Crusaders come through, they took the local militia, and therefore crime, or one of the reasons crime.
So the crusade is, just for context for anyone watching, the crusade is a crusade against the traitor gods. There are a bunch of gods. In recent times, kind of the turning point a little while back in the history, one of the gods was killed by the Knights Templar, who are an order of the Ecclesiarch's army that they're his top-notch guys. And
I like to think that they killed the goddess Joy, by accident,
yeah,
and then claimed they fully intended to do it and got made the top dogs.
yeah. So the goddess Joy was killed, torn from the skies, had her feathers plucked out, her bones tarred, and her followers also tarred. And now, like, they've done this whole, like, if it bleeds, we can kill it thing, and the Ecclesiarch is just on a god-hunting bender. So he's sent out his witch-finders to find the cults and to find the witches, and he's sent out the Templar to find the gods and kill them. So they've moved through town.
They've moved through
Sorry,
town.
sir.
They've taken all of the people, not men, the people of eligible age,
Yeah.
off to war against the gods, creating this power vacuum. And I guess there's crime.
Yeah,
There's
and then
been
like
crime.
I think deserters from the Crusades and general people taking advantage of there not being a militia around have formed up, causing problems, and then this Witch of Frenzy has been Batmaning around, killing the brigands. That word got around. The Witchfinders found out about it, did an investigation, did their job real well, found the witch, brought them to the courthouse.
I do have a question about our own creative process, though.
Yes.
have we gone to vigilante because of the bat nature of the Opiri?
No.
Oh,
so
God. Good
the
catch.
the
You
origin
keep
of
saying
that-
Batmaning. There are literally bat people involved.
So I think we can avoid that. He's more like the Punisher, right?
Okay.
Um,
He does use guns, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
he uses guns.
Okay.
He invented guns.
But they haven't been invented yet.
And so I think he was working with, like, the priest was okaying this, was positive about this.
Yeah.
It was like, you're bringing crime down. I don't agree with your methods, but I'm Commissioner
But you
Gordon.
have filled a power vacuum.
But you like, it's better than the stuff that's been happening, like the terrible things the brigands have been doing. So they do that. Then this trial happens.
The witch is found, the witch is tried, the
So-
witch is burned.
So why? So the priest gave the guilty verdict, or the?
I think
no,
as soon as
did the jury give the
I
guilty
think
verdict?
as soon as that's a good question.
Because that's technically, like, in our modern society, which we don't have to do anything
I
with.
think this has gotten a bit too modern because we have the Witchfinders Guild.
Yeah.
I don't think they ship their power out to juries.
Okay.
Maybe the Witchfinders Guild have been killed, and they're the Lithe in the courthouse.
They have good hats.
They do have good hats.
Hmm.
I like the.
I like the idea that you show up and the trained professionals are all dead. And you're like, I'm a fucking gravedigger.
That does actually help with the sort of, why are you doing this, not the witch finders? Like, you imagine if there's a group of heavily armed men and women, like, there,
Yeah.
surely, even though it's not their job, they would do something. And I think having them all killed
And you
is
get to
quite a good, like...
you get to introduce undead Witchfinders, and if you just imagine the worst kind of people, that's the Witchfinders.
Can we
Guild.
make it
Can we make
the
it
witch
our
finders from?
Witchfinders?
Yeah. So we've got Big Baby, we've got Harriet, we've got Manfred and Piers.
So
Chad.
we're playing
Chad.
a private kind of witch finding game
Yeah.
on our own as witch finders, and we're just awful characters.
Awful people. I think that
Big Baby
certainly
is-
takes some
is-
Big Baby is like three awful
people.
people.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's stronger. I did like the not
So
pun,
they-
but the 12 Angry Men thing.
they
Of
s-
like,
I don't like the pun.
no,
We wrote-
but the there are 12 people on a jury and you've got to find all 12. It's quite a fun
Yeah.
thing, but then you're tying it to something modern
Yeah.
and
I think
I don't
the
think it's necessary.
Witchfinders succeeded in their job. They got the witch on the pyre, and the witch did ultimately pass away, but the witch got them,
Yeah.
and they died.
so is there
So that's like 5 bodies because you've got. Oh no, witch doesn't come back.
which doesn't come back.
4 bodies.
We can,
Well,
we
however
can
many
have
Witchfinders
more.
we want.
We
Yeah.
can have a few more.
Right.
Like the standard adventuring party is 4, but we can have more Witchfinders in this group.
A real well, and yeah.
Oh, but why would we be worrying about the standard adventuring sized party in relation to the Witchfinders
Oh.
Guild? Mmm.
Would it actually be fun to have a checklist? Be like, these are the people who
Yeah,
are missing.
it would be. Yeah.
Fine.
I like that. It's got a Curse of Obra Dinn vibe.
Yeah,
I think that's fun. That's really good. Like, write down maybe cause of death and.
it's the main mechanic. Don't worry,
That's
you're not
alright. I
getting
still
spoiled.
haven't
You
played
do
with
need to play
Obra
it.
Dinn. I do
It's
need to
so
play it.
good.
I've managed not to have
Yeah.
any spoilers till now. It's amazing.
Oh, I've never played it. Know
Four?
nothing about
Enough for a
it,
crusade. A crusade is as well. It's about confidence. Running
You
a
are
crusade.
given a checklist by the mayor gives you a checklist.
I think a
Like-
crusade is a state of mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, the mayor gives you a
The mayor
checklist.
gives you a checklist, and these are the bodies / lithe
Yeah. These
you
are
have to find and bury.
Yeah.
these are the missing people. If they're alive, save them. If they're dead, bury them.
And the priest is on the list, but it turns out she's not dead yet. So yeah, that leads quite naturally into discovering what's happening with the priest.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, I like the idea. As a bit of investigation in there.
You have to hope that someone on your party can read.
Do you have the last surviving witchfinder basically tell you all this and allow, like, if they ask the Witchfinder to come with them, they can convince him to. And if he does, he's killed very early to do the horror thing of like.
So at the very beginning
his
of
head
this
twisted
Twitch stream, Chris said that is there a character that has a very short lifespan that gives you the mission? And I think you've just filled in that gap.
Yeah, just
the very mortally wounded Witchfinder.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, I guess there is no reason why you can't inspire the crowd to like. Go, it's a RPG. You can do what you want. So I guess is there a Witchfinder sidekick who's sort of? I think if there is, he's badly wounded, right? He didn't leave without a fight. It's not.
That's quite a fun vibe as well. Are
you deputized to go with them into the building? Yeah, can he give you his badge and be your responsibility. You touch the badge, you find the witch.
Is it like
he hides it in your drink.
The Santa Claus.
Yeah. If you put on a Witchfinder's clothes, you have their job.
You put on a Witchfinder's hat.
So the main reason I was thinking to say that, is first of all, if you have someone giving a task who's competent, the players are likely to be like, yeah, come with us. And so we either need them not to be competent, so all the Witchfinders have been killed, and just the mayor's there.
Yeah. And the mayor has the authority to say, "I'm not going."
Well, yeah, he's a frail old man, or
I think he's a fat
child
idiot.
Mayor.
A fat idiot.
Fat idiot is my go-to mayor. Someone really someone who boffles like Mr. Johnson. A real someone who's just gout from the neck down.
Yeah.
Like a real monster. 90% pate. That's my go-to mayor.
It's honestly getting close to dinner time, so stop making me hungry.
The transition from chin to shoulder should be a smooth
So you're describing Baron Harkonnen?
Yes.
Yeah. If Baron Harkonnen and a potato had a red baby.
I was dumped into a wheelbarrow.
Made it mayor.
Actually, we did run a game where, that was he was in a wheelbarrow, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
A mare too fat to walk, so he just sits in a wheelbarrow full of cushions and two twins.
So I think this list of people is quite fun, finding them, ticking them off. Cause of death. Is cause of death a thing that's fun to... I guess most of them are just stabbed by frenzy.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing the Obra Dinn thing. One of the things I really like about the...
triangle.
I think they're called Dairy Lee triangles, unless you're trying to avoid using the...
other forms of cholesterol are available.
What was I going to say?
Our cast of characters is Mayor, Priest, dead Witchfinders.
We know the Gravedigger's dead. The company, the Gravedigger who works here. His house is at the back,
I think
right?
I think he's dead in the... I think he's torn apart by Live in his shed.
Oh, yeah, he went in to bury the bodies.
Yeah.
This is his shed, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real close to the site of where he needs to work.
Yeah. The Gravedigger in Ocarina of Time, who has
Dante.
a little shed. Dante, that's his name.
Does this guy also have a race course in his basement? Dead on the job. I think this is a really solid start.
We've gone from what do we want to be in this last week to a solid cast of characters this week.
Yeah.
Next week, I guess we'll start putting some actual words on page.
Also, I think for a mission 1, literally saying this is your mission.
Yeah.
Give people.
Oh, I think that might be a.
That's a follow.
That's
Okay.
a follow.
It's an ominous noise.
Give people a solid mission. Give them flexibility in how they do it.
But your end goal.
is do this.
You need to bury these bodies and/or items.
Thank you for the follow, Gherkin. It was a hard G.
Garrison.
Garçon.
Garçon.
Garrison.
Garçon. It's French, right? Garçon. We're sticking with the garçon.
I'm
Brilliant.
gonna
And,
guess they didn't come here for this.
thank you as always, Sundancer. It's
I'm
lovely
hoping
to
they
see
didn't
you
come
again.
here.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. It's so nice having you people to bounce off.
Brilliant.
We'll see you next week, same time.
Gaelic.
Gaelic, not garlic. I'm so sorry.
Is that J-Lick? J-Lee?
Probably. We're probably pronouncing Gaelic wrong. We're pretty bad, just generally. But that is me ramping up to saying ta-ra. If you want to find out more about Doomsong,
And even if you don't,
you can go to kickstarter.com/project/Caesarinc/Doomsong. The link is in the chat. Please do that. Every follow helps. And if you've already followed, tell all your friends. And if all your friends have already followed, tell your enemies. Really helps us out. If you have already followed, you can find us on Twitter. You can join our Discord as well, which the link
We'll
should
be organising some demo playtests
Yeah,
soon for Discord.
So I believe we're running a sort of over Discord thing at 7 o'clock UK time next week. So that'll be basically after this stream
Looks like it's
next
the
week.
3rd. The 3rd of September.
Nope, that'll be a Sunday.
Oh, is it not Sunday?
No, Monday.
Monday, 4th.
Basically after this stream next week.
Excellent.
So, thank you. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name until I have hard evidence of whether it's a hard or soft G.
4th.
Yes. Oh, it's probably a soft G. That's probably Jerry.
I said that earlier, and then I was told it was a hard G.
No, I think you were told it's like J-Link. All right. See you guys. Have loads of fun.
See you later.
And see you next week.
Yeah. See you then.